Okay, I guess we're live.
All right, folks, we are back. So I'm going to go ahead and do my monologue thing here real quick, buddy. All right, you are on with FFN Network, i12 GIA, Real Talk with Real People. You got Fogman and Rennie, my partner there. Let's get the housekeeping stuff out of the way. You got a new ad, so if everybody like that, that's pretty cool. Okay, kind of the big time now. Let's figure it out later. We got some interesting things tonight, and I got a personal thing to talk about here before we get started. It's been suggested that I need engaging and more engaging and more passionate about some of our topics. Okay, now I'm kind of like a fart that's generated by 3-day-old or by week-old roadkill. Okay, silent but deadly. Now you kind of, in other words, you don't want to be in the closed room when it goes off, right?
Yeah.
So sorry, I got other shit going on here too. So anyway, I'm afraid I'm not gonna be able to the chainsaw or that kind of stuff. But I will be engaging, I will be entertaining as always. And it's kind of like I said, it's real talk with what you see with us, with what you get. And we hope that's what we're going to get back. Really enjoy talking to you folks. All right. Having said that, we got some interesting topics tonight. We have a whole hour.
I sent you
we're going to do the first hour on.
I sent you a chainsaw today. You're going to have to send it back to me.
Oh, did you? Is it electric or?
It's electric, so you can use it in the house to fill up your desk. Yeah.
Hello.
No.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'll send it back when I get it. Anyway, we got an interesting topics. We're going to cover Haiti first and the nightmare that's going right now. We'll do a little bit of the good videos spooled up for you guys. We'll do a little history. We'll discuss them as we go through. And then the second half is we're going to do. Yeah, this is. We're going to do the evacuation. I don't know if anybody's seen the Senate subcommittee hearings on that, but yeah, this I'm a little passionate about. I'm a little angry about. I think I broke a tooth. I sat through those entire fucking hearings. I think at some point I broke a tooth, and I'm pretty sure I almost had a stroke. But anyway, we're going to talk about that for the second hour. So that's going to be interesting to say the least. All right, let's get going here. Right?
Let's hit it. So I got to thinking when this thing in Haiti tipped off. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you.
All right. So I get to thinking when this thing took off in Haiti, why the United States government would have so much interest in a third world country full of French nanas that they don't even live in shanties with roofs over their heads. And so I proceeded to do some research, and I found that 63 million years ago, an asteroid hit the Earth, causing a massive crater, and just so happens to be where Haiti sits now. And in that crater, there's millions and millions and millions of tons of this precious metal, more expensive than gold, and everybody wants to get their hands on it. So I think that's why the U.S. government's got their dirty, corrupt, political, shit-stained hands in there.
Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah. Yep. All right. I'm sure we'll get into that as we go along. Let's go ahead and run that first video up so we can get started on the history of Haiti. We'll see what's going on right now.
Si c'est ça qu'on dit, on vient porter et on vient dans le quartier populaire, vient l'ouvrir coup de balle, on vient tuer peuple là, vient faire massacre. Nous-mêmes haïtiens, n'a campé et n'a goumé contre eux, n'a goumé contre eux jusqu'au dernier bout de sang nous. Et goumé ça, c'est peut-être ça nous sorti nous, il pas goumé ni Genève, il pas goumé ni GPEP. La goumé peuple haïtien pour nous garder dignité pays nous.
All right. We're not going to make you sit through 7 minutes of that. Let's just go ahead and kill it. I think that was Baby Barbecue before he became famous.
I wonder if he's interested in giving cooking classes.
I don't know. I know you have some suggestions and recommendations for how to cook humans and what sauces pair nicely with thighs.
If we can find his email address, that'd be helpful.
Okay. All right. Well, let's see what we can do. Okay, let's go to number 2.
This is Haiti, caught in the middle of an escalating gang war. It's a country on the brink of collapse. Murder, kidnappings and sexual violence are an everyday reality. The gangs have become too powerful and the police are no match.
What's really incredible actually is the sense of being in a war zone actually.
Over the years I've seen firsthand Haiti's downward spiral into violence and chaos.
This is very much an ongoing disaster.
So how has Haiti reached this point and what might happen next? Haiti is a small country in the Caribbean. Its capital, Port-au-Prince, is mostly controlled by dangerous armed gangs.
It's quite remarkable actually. You've got so many factions, so many gangs fighting each other, and their territories are very specific.
The city is caught in the middle of a deadly turf war between these groups.
So if you were to just go through here now, would they shoot?
Yeah. January was the most violent month in the country in more than 2 years.
At least 806 people were killed, injured, or kidnapped in January.
In 2023, nearly 5,000 people were killed, a 110% increase on the year before.
Gangs also continued to use sexual violence against women and girls as a weapon.
Things have deteriorated as this year has gone on. These people fled their homes during heavy shootouts between rival gangs fighting for control of territory and businesses.
And in that same month, gangs attacked police stations, the main airport, and raided the country's 2 biggest prisons, releasing thousands of inmates.
La prisión, el motín, sí, corría peligro nuestras vidas.
In March, Haiti entered a state of emergency. Signs of street battles can be seen everywhere. This elderly woman was hit by a stray bullet.
Yeah, okay. It's a mess and it's only getting worse at this point.
Well, Haiti has had a long history of political instability, with frequent changes in government, obviously, corruption and weak institutions. The instability has hindered economic development and social progress. The second issue they have is poverty. That's at the behest of their government. Healthcare and education is inadequate for many Haitians. Another thing is you have social inequality, the stark disparities in wealth and access to resources in Haiti. Healthcare changes, obviously. Political corruption is a pervasive issue in Haiti, affecting various sectors, including the governments, businesses, and law enforcement, as we saw clearly in these videos that were played. This undermines the trust in institution. It hampers the efforts to promote transparency and accountability. I can't comment too much on accountability because we have no accountability here. And I heard today the government wants to do away with the title United States and go with the new country, North America, because we have no borders. But
Yeah.
he said, anyway, that's all the shit that's going on in Haiti that I can see.
Okay.
That's, turmoiling this whole thing. It's like a building wave. It's only going to get bigger and bigger and bigger.
Okay. We have, well, a couple things. We've got Jeff B chiming in over here. Yeah, they are a little annoying at times. We're going to cover the Dominican Republic, and in the next couple of videos, we're going to get into the history and how Haiti, or how actually Hispaniola ended up being the way it is. The separation between the Dominican Republic and the two different nations and Haiti, and some of the interactions between those two. So yeah, let's go ahead and run these next video, the next two, and then we'll continue our discussion on this and get real deep into it. Sound good?
The island of Hispaniola here has had a long history of unification and division. It was a series of individual states, then ruled by the Spanish, then it was split with the French, ruled entirely by the French, partially ruled by the Spanish and independent Haitians, entirely ruled by the Haitians, divided between the Haitians and the Haitians, followed by the independent Dominicans and the Spanish again. Back to independence, and then to shake things up, it was occupied by the Americans before again settling down into the two modern states of Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Which raises the question, why couldn't the island stay united? So when Europeans first turned up to the island, it was divided into a number of chiefdoms, which the Spanish then promptly conquered. Afterwards, the entire island remained under Spanish rule for 130 years when France won the eastern third of it, and France's portion of the island would grow rapidly in wealth until the French Revolutionary Wars. This was when France, having defeated most of Europe, won the rest of Hispaniola from Spain. There was soon a slave revolt in the western third. Napoleon sent troops to crush it, and when that failed, the island was split again. This time into the newly independent Haitian Empire with the French in the east, which lasted for a whopping 2 years before its emperor Jacques got himself unalived and the country fell into civil war. The two stayed divided until 1820 when the Northern King died and the Southern Republic led by Jean-Pierre Boyer reconquered the rest. By this time the French had been kicked out of the eastern portion of the island with the Spanish back in power. And after this there was a long-standing period of peace and rebuilding, and just kidding, the Haitians invaded and Boyer declared himself dictator for life. Boyer ruled over all of Hispaniola for the next 20 years. He paid an indemnity to France in return for international recognition of Haiti's independence, and he kicked out all of the white landowners from the east of the island. Except for the Polish, that is, they were cool. Boyer did very little to unify the two parts of the island culturally, and many in the east saw themselves as a wholly distinct people from the Haitians who now ruled them. And thus, it was time for a calm discussion. By which, I mean armed revolution. Boyer fled in 1843, and in 1844 the Dominican Republic declared its independence.
Switch to Chrome to
The two
protect
would
yourself.
remain separate thereafter, with Haiti briefly becoming an empire again and the Dominican Republic falling to a Spanish invasion in 1861. This was because the United States Monroe Doctrine, which forbid Europeans from retaking their old colonies, was somewhat harder to enforce at this time. It didn't matter though, because the Dominicans soon revolted and kicked the Spanish out, and both parts of the islands remained as independent republics thereafter. That was until the early 20th century. Haiti was still paying off its debts to France from the Napoleonic era, and combined with expensive wars and general mismanagement, the country had become quite poor. Haiti's issues meant that it couldn't repay some of its debts to an American bank, which meant that it was time for intervention. The United States invaded the country in 1915 to force through debt repayment and protect American interests there. The next year, the US-friendly Dominican government was overthrown, and since US Marines were in the area, in they went. Both nations were thus occupied and run by the same country until the US left the Dominican Republic in 1924 and Haiti in 1934. And thereafter, both Haitian and Dominican independence was restored and Hispaniola would remain divided. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and a special thanks to my...
So the moral of that story is these folks have been fucked up forever.
Yeah.
It's not just wars and civil wars and all the other stuff that goes along with it. They also have some ecological issues along the part of Haiti. So there's a couple of fault lines that run through there, which causes the earthquakes.
Yeah.
They're right in like the main part of a hurricane zone. So in other words, they just get hammered all.
They've had some doozies.
Oh man, I'll tell you. So there's reasons for everything that's happening. So I think we have one more video on this, and then we'll jump into the difference between Haiti and the Dominican Republic and what's going on with the two countries as of today. So let's go ahead and do this last video on
A
Haiti.
chartered flight carrying US citizens out of Haiti has arrived in Miami with just under 50 people on board. It flew out of the northern town of Cap Haitien as gang violence has closed the airport in the capital, Port-au-Prince. Gangs still control large parts of the capital, and people are trying to head north to safer areas. Our Central America correspondent, Will Grant, is one of the first international journalists to get into the country and reports now from Cap Haitien, where many displaced people have been heading.
Cap Haitien suffers from almost all of Haiti's deepest problems: grinding poverty, chaos, disorder and corruption, but crucially not gang violence. So it's becoming the main safe haven for people forced to leave the gang-controlled capital, Port-au-Prince. Another busload arrives, having run the gauntlet of a dangerous journey. It took us hours longer than it should, as we had to reroute around the gang checkpoints and there was gunfire, says this passenger, who was clearly shaken. Fenel Pierre made the same journey 6 months ago. It's almost impossible to pull yourself from poverty in Haiti. Fenel managed it. But becoming a middle-class businessman made him a target. The gangs destroyed his business, ransacked his house and tried to kidnap him, and in the process plunged him and his family back into poverty.
This is just 2% of the life I used to live. In fact, I'm not living, I'm just existing.
The longer the power vacuum in Haiti continues, the worse the humanitarian emergency here becomes. In turn, more and more displaced people will flock to the city of Cap Haitien in search of refuge from the violent gangs that have such a tight grip on the capital.
All right, so this is where we're at now. The U.S. Embassy has been closed. All Americans have been evacuated. There are a guy named Barbecue is running the place. He used to be an ex-cop, apparently. He's taken over as the prime minister pro tem. There are allegedly or supposedly flotillas coming north, escaping Haiti and coming into American waters. Governor DeSantis in Florida has set up some blockades to prevent that from happening, because as long as they're stopped in international waters, they're going to get sent back to most likely Guantanamo is where they're going to end up going. If they get into international waters and actually land, then you know what the Biden administration is going to do. So pretty soon we're going to have 11 million Haitians to deal with, along with the other illegal aliens that we already have. Sound about right, Randy? You want to talk about barbecue?
Unless he wants to send me some recipes, no.
Yeah,
but
recipes for what?
Being an ex-cop, he's giving the rest of us a bad name.
Well, isn't that the truth?
But what I do want to, what I would like to discuss is the need for comprehensive solutions to change what's going on there.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you got any ideas you would like to toss out, because I got a couple.
Okay. Go ahead.
Well, let's start with political, economical, and social.
Okay. What about political?
Political, you need to have a solid leader that really gives a shit about the country and the people. And apparently these past dictators, these comes and goes, they're all in it for themselves. They're bleeding the country dry, and then they're taking off.
Hey, Jerry, just got the message up. We're usually on from 8 to 9, but we got the 7 to 9 time slot. So we've been around for a while on another network, and then we're doing this other stuff here now. But thanks for jumping in, though. Yeah, moved from Sunday to Wednesday. So
the second one is economical. You know?
Okay.
Like I said earlier at the beginning.
Hey, caller, you're on the air with i12 GIA, Real Talk with Real People on the FFN network. How we help you tonight?
Hey, caller. Caller, go ahead if you want to talk to us.
Yeah, give me a second, caller, please. Okay. All right, caller. Could we're having a little bit of let's see here. Guys, I can handle this. I'll get right back to
keep
you.
talking. Okay, all right, yeah. Go ahead.
So economic.
When the caller comes back, okay, economic. What do you got?
Well, you know, like I said, they've been coming in and bleeding the country and taking the money and fleeing. Haiti's
Right.
sitting on these mineral deposits worth more than gold. You know, like I said, you got to have a reputable leader to come in and run the country the way it's supposed to be run. Something like we haven't got that here now, and we're going the same way as Haiti. It's only a matter of time.
Right.
It's only a matter of time before we got a barbecue running around giving orders.
Well, I think probably in Chicago and some parts of other cities, there's already a barbecue out there. We just don't see them that often.
Yeah.
Along those same lines, Haiti had a democratically elected prime minister here a few years back, just prior to all this that's going on now. And he was in power for, I don't quote me on this, a couple of days, couple of weeks, whatever. And then he made the fatal error of telling France and the U.S. they needed to pay reparations, and somewhere to the tune of $12 billion. I think it was $12 billion. And of course, shortly after, he was removed in a military coup. And this is pretty much what started all this. They still haven't recovered from the hurricanes and the earthquake yet. They're still trying to put that together.
That's bullshit, because you know what? So another thing is sustainable development. They should focus on promoting good governance and strengthening institutions and sustainable development, promoting goods. They got this mineral.
Hey guys, we got a caller. Hey caller, you're on the air with i12 GIA, Real Talk with Real People on the FFN network.
Hey caller.
Hello, caller. How are you?
Say hello, guys. Can you hear him?
I did. I said, no, can't hear a damn thing.
Yeah, no, we can't hear the caller at all. We were waiting.
They can hear you. They can hear you. Yes.
We can?
I don't know. Can you hear him?
No, we can't hear the caller at all. We can hear you, but we can't hear the caller. So technical difficulties. All right, well, jump in whenever you get a chance there.
If they had a sustainable product, they could market, to sustain. Definitely.
Can you hear the caller now?
No.
Wow, very low. I don't know why it's low.
Yeah, still can't hear them at all. You can hear each other and you, and that's it.
Should be though.
All right. Yeah, but what do they have though that's a sustainable product?
Well, like I told you, that mineral that the asteroid left behind 63 million years ago. I mean, that's being heavily marketed. I'm
gonna call you when it's fixed.
That's being heavily mined and pulled out of there.
Oh, okay. All right.
It's worth more than gold.
Yeah, see, I hadn't heard anything about that. That's really interesting.
Yeah, I did a deep dive. I did a deep dive into that.
Okay. Well, who's doing the mining? Well, along the same gold mines in the world as in the Dominican Republic, on the other side of the mountains.
Yeah.
Now,
on the other side of the mountain, yeah.
Prior to all of this stuff, it's really, I've been to both places, and it's like quite literally the difference between night and day, dark and light. You have the Dominican side, which is it's green, it's beautiful. They're very loving and caring people. There's a lot going on there. It's to the point where in Punta Cana, there's Russian oligarchs and millionaires from all over that have their houses there. And then you go into Haiti, and it's just a cesspool. There's no trees. It's been deforested. A lot of the reason for that is because back in when France had it, they would cut down all the trees and lumber and all and send them send all that shit to Europe, and that's part of the problem. Yeah, and if we have a
See,
caller again, we can jump in there.
I'm a fucking frog, and I'm fluent in French, but I don't understand a word that these people are saying. So I don't know what language they're talking. It's probably Swahili.
Well,
for
yeah,
all I know.
Yeah, it's patois, I think, is the issue.
No, it's
there.
not French. So
and the other
NIG 12345 wants to know what we all think about lead in the water supplies. So I guess my question to that person would be, what water supplies are you talking about?
Okay, Jeff B is saying bauxite is a mineral that's mined.
That's used to
there
refine
also.
aluminum. Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. That's one of the ones I heard. So
Okay, so their main, it's going to be mainly then mining is going to be there because they don't have any kind of, there's no petroleum, there's no oil, there's no natural resources.
right, mining. So where is, if all this stuff is worth more than gold, where's it all going? Who's taking it?
Yeah. You know, that does lead a lot of questions.
Is it
But, you know, I
foreign
have
governments or what? You know, but something needs to be done to stabilize that country. You know?
Yeah, it really does. And there's, you know, but until, you know, it's like Afghanistan was the same way. Until you deal with the corruption and the fraud, you're not going to get anything. Well, and we are now too, the United States of America, with the corruption and fraud.
And you know what? Just by the fact that the Clintons were involved years ago during the earthquake leads me to believe that the whole country's a cesspool.
Yeah, without a doubt, and intentionally.
And
whatever happened,
the Clintons were opportunistic people, and they weren't hanging around there because they loved the Haitians. Trust me when I tell you that. They were hanging around there looking to fill their pockets.
Yeah. With that $80 billion or whatever it was in donations to the Clinton Foundation, and that's the same story.
And when you're billing, you got your hand in your pocket constantly, and it's going back and forth. I don't see how you're going to put any more in there.
Yeah. Now, what's happened now because of all this stuff? The DR has locked their border down. They built and militarized a wall between the two countries. Anyway, there's a mountain range that runs through there that keeps them separated. But they've deported. The DR has deported all Haitians back to Haiti because things are so bad there. And I don't know. I just see a zombie apocalypse type scenario forming here. You know, and if they've already invaded the DR once, you know.
What you talking about?
Zombie apocalypse.
Can you blame the DR?
Oh, hell no. Of course not. You know, they're taking again, like I said, they've already been invaded once. That's just not going to happen again.
What do you think you guys are going to do in Florida? He's sending them back. They're not even going to be allowed to hit the shore.
No, not at all. Surprisingly enough, DeSantis has mobilized everybody. He's got Coast Guard, all of the maritime units, game and fish. Some game and fish officers caught a boat that had Haitians, weapons, night vision equipment, and drugs on board, and got them captured and seized the stuff and turned them around or whatever they did with them. So, so DeSantis has got his shit together in that respect. We're going to go ahead and lock Florida down, I think.
Do the night vision goggles scare you?
They scare the hell out of me. Well, that's not the only place they're being used. As far as law enforcement and the military both goes, we have one of our main strengths is that we own the night because of our technology. You know, between night vision and thermal and all that kind of crap. And what I want to know is where that shit came from. Was it somehow bought from, or some of the shit that we left in Afghanistan was bought and sold, by militant gangs in Haiti? How do they get all these weapons and stuff? Because these people, you saw the videos, they don't have diapers. I mean, they barely have clothes. So how
Russia sells a lot of night vision stuff.
Well, yeah, and that kind of makes sense. I just wonder how much we've left, which leads me to ask. Well, of course, Haiti's always been a trafficking point for cocaine and smuggling area.
Like my night vision goggles for my tactical helmet, they mount on top and they pull down.
Yeah.
I paid I got them from Russia. I paid $700 for them.
Yeah, that's
Same thing in it from U.S. here, $4 to $6 grand.
Yeah.
And I guess
Well, yeah.
I guess we're up against a break.
Yeah. All right, let's take a break and we'll be back.
Take
Folks,
it away,
stick around with us,
Mr. Producer.
Yep. And we're back. Okay, moving right along. We are. Where were we? I got lost. I dozed off while we were taking our 15-second break or whatever that was. There. I think we were talking about some such. Oh yeah, yeah. The video is pretty cool. We forgot our global elite tactical training people though. They need to be added in there somewhere, I would hope. So anyway, okay, so we're talking about how to get Haiti fixed.
Chat, what do you think about the role of civil society and the international community in Haiti?
The role of civil society
and the international community. Exclude the United States because they're so fucking corrupt.
You know, I think every government is corrupt anymore. I think it's just the way of the world. And I don't know how the hell to fix that. But I mean,
not every government got a big guy either. So,
well, yeah, there is that, but everybody has some kind of form of something. You can't. Okay, all right. Barbecue has already said that if any international forces, any international policing groups or military, UN missions, whatever, come into Haiti, there's going to be a war. I mean, he's going to attack them. Okay, so we know that's going to happen. Or if there's any type of action taken against him. So, which pretty much rules out a UN mission. There was, after Aristide, there was a UN mission negotiated through Kenya that was a peacekeeping mission.
Just what you want. More of them types in there, yeah.
Well, yeah, and I'm not sure. Yeah, I think there was some scandal involving that also, so that didn't work. So you can't depend on the UN. You can't, there is no international groups. The UN Human Relief Commission's gone out the window. The International Red Cross, they're too busy supporting Gaza and the Hamas. There are no civil groups or government groups that can do anything anymore.
See, I'm thinking that civil society organization, grassroots movements, international partners play a crucial role in supporting Haitians' development efforts, collaboration between governments, civil society, and international actors is essential for addressing Haiti's challenges and building a more prosperous and stable future, which, until they get their asses in gear and decide to be on the same page, I don't see that happening.
No, it won't. There's no possible way. And even if, even in a perfect world, as soon as you start talking about money, and unfettered budgets and unrestricted budgets that have no oversight, it just goes all right out the window. And the people
But
that suffer,
that's a portion of a legitimate solution.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, most definitely. But you know what? A lot of this shit has to come from the people too. What concerns me, I think, is that at this point they're just so down, or so beaten into the ground. Between the hurricanes and the tornadoes and the civil wars and the strife and the colonialism and everything else that's happened to those folks, and they're on an island on top of everything else. So it has to come from within, and I just don't see that happening at this point.
Yeah.
There's no education, there's no jobs. It's
well, there is education. The educated ones have fled the country to better places.
Exactly, like they've done every place else. So what's the option here? They all turn into a bunch of lemmings and follow each other off a cliff into the ocean. I mean, something has to be done for these folks, but it's almost more greater minds than I have to address this issue, because I honestly have no idea.
Good place for target practice.
No, yeah. Sad but true, and that's pretty much what barbecue is doing. With that nut job. There's a lot of I thought about adding them to our show tonight, but there's a lot of cannibalism videos. There's a lot of people who are getting cooked over an open fire and eaten. And they're not fake; they're actually real. It's those people are crazy. Now there is a religious component too, because voodoo is pretty big in Haiti, also.
Yeah, it is. Well, voodoo's pretty big in Haiti. I think voodoo's pretty big in the Dominican Republic and Jamaica.
Yeah, Jamaica especially. Not so much in the DR, a little bit, but it's more of a fringe kind of a thing. It's not
more or less the Caribbean islands. Yeah,
that whole section. DR's a little bit different, but it's, if you ever get a chance to visit, go check the place out. The difference is, just like I said, night and day, man. You'll see the flies. It's incredible. Yeah. Incredibly sad is what it is.
Yeah.
So I don't know, brother. Have we beaten this topic into the dirt, or should we continue on?
We have.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess we can move on to our next topic of the evening then. A little extra time for this last hour. This is going to be, there's congressional hearings right now going on about the evacuation in Afghanistan, of Afghanistan, evacuation, whatever you want to call it, and the 13 soldiers that were murdered at Abbey Gate and how that came about. We've got some pretty interesting videos that we're going to go through one at a time. We'll run the videos and we'll talk about it. Like I said, I spent some time there. This is a very painful topic for me, as it should be for all of us. And I think as these hearings go on, you're going to see it. Oh, well, it's painful for all of us, except for the people that it needs to be painful for. Like Joe Biden says.
What did you think of the two suits yesterday?
Well, they're retired, so I expected nothing more or better or anything else.
But they were singing a different. They were singing a different tune.
Oh, hell yeah! Now that they're retired, of course they were. I mean, they see the writing on the wall. They're not stupid. They didn't get in those positions of, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff by being a dumbass.
And I know I was listening to the whole thing, and I was trying to keep track. But at one point I thought I heard one of them blame Biden for the whole thing.
Oh yeah, they did. They threw Biden. Well, actually, they threw State Department under the bus.
State Department. Well, deservedly so. The State Department botched that.
Yeah. And as the hearings went on, they finally got him to admit that, Biden's the commander in chief. So all the responsibility lies on him. The whole buck stops here thing.
Yeah.
The problem, though, is that Biden has said, no, he doesn't take any responsibility for any of it. The typical, if you wanted to see the worst characteristics of any kind of a supervisor, leader, boss, whatever, he would be the poster child for that. What a despicable individual. But and the State Department's right up there with him. You know, Anthony Blinken, all the rest of them. One of the things that when during the fall of Kabul, apparently it came out in the hearings that Anthony Blinken was vacationing in the Hamptons.
Yeah.
At that time.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of shit that happened there. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of shit that happened that shouldn't. So let's go ahead and run the videos. The first one up and get into this. It's get your Kleenex or your paper towels or your sanitary napkins or diapers, whatever it is that because you're going to need them for this one. I certainly did.
The new report from the Pentagon tonight after its investigation into the horrific.
I want the first video of the testimony of the Sergeant Vargas. I guess we're gonna take a second to find that, folks, but bear with us. If you want to call and talk to us, or call up there. You go.
The withdrawal was a catastrophe, in my opinion, and there was an inexcusable lack of accountability and negligence. Operations had briefly halted, but then started again. Plain and simple, we were ignored. Our expertise was disregarded. No one was held accountable for our safety. About 1730, Staff Sergeant Darren Hoover, friend and mentor, came to get me from the tower to go help find an Afghan interpreter in the crowd. We found the interpreter and his brother, born with American passports. They told us of 5 family members still in the canal. I stayed there waiting for the family members, standing against a 2-foot canal wall. 10 minutes passed. Then a flash and a massive wave of pressure. I'm thrown 12 feet onto the ground, but instantly knew what had happened. I opened my eyes to Marines dead or unconscious, lying around me. A crowd of hundreds immediately vanished in front of me, and my body was catastrophically wounded with 100 to 150 ball bearings now in it. Almost immediately, we started taking fire from the neighborhood, and I saw how injured I was with my right arm, completely shredded and unusable. I saw my lower abdomen soaked in blood. I crawled backwards roughly 7 feet because I thought I was still in harm's way. My body was overwhelmed from the trauma of the blast. My abdomen had been ripped open. Every inch of my exposed body, except for my face, took ball bearings and shrapnel. I tried to get up, but could not. Laying there for a few minutes, I started to lose consciousness when I heard Chaz, my team leader, screaming my name as he ran to me. His voice calling to me kept me awake. When he got to me, he dragged me to safety and immediately started triaging me, tying tourniquets on my limbs and doing anything he could to stop the bleeding and start plugging wounds with the help of the other Marines. I was awake through most of it, screaming, moaning, and cursing. I ask you to please ask me about getting shot at the tower in Abbey Gate and how no one wanted my report post-blast. Even NCIS and the FBI failed to interview me.
Fuckers.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, it gets worse. Here,
I don't want to lose anything in translation, but I heard yesterday that there was a sniper that had the bomber in his scope, and he snapped a picture of the bomber and sent that up to the higher command.
Yep.
Now, under the rules of engagement, supposedly, Molly told him he could take the shot. So I guess my question would be, why wasn't the shot taken?
Yeah, that's a good question, and it comes up in some of the videos, and it came up in the testimony. They, these fuckers, that was requested from the sniper. They had him PID'd, positively identified, knew exactly who he was, what he was, where he was, had him in the crosshairs, and he asked his chain of command. He said, "Do I have a green light? Can I take the shot?" The lieutenant colonel came back and said, "I don't know." What the fuck do you mean, I don't know? That's your fucking job.
So why the fuck are you wearing maple leafs if you don't fucking know?
Well, to follow up on that, they were asked about that. The two generals were asked about that.
Can I do a follow-up question?
Go ahead.
Yes, please.
I do a follow-up question.
Of course you can.
You know what? I can't ask the question, chat. Why don't we play the video? I think that will answer everything for us.
All right, let's do that. Yep.
And thank you for allowing me to come in on that.
Of course.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Gentlemen, thank you for your service. We honor the Gold Star families and the service members here today. General Milley, General McKenzie, was the ROE, were the rules of engagement at the time of the Abbey Gate incident sufficient for service members like Tyler Vargas to protect themselves?
So it's my judgment they were, and we went in with what we call the standard Chairman Joint Chiefs of Staff ROE with supplements for Afghanistan. There's three main components to it. First of all, the inherent right of self-defense. A U.S. service member anywhere in the world at any time has the right to defend him or herself against a threat. It does not have to be an action that you're defending against. It can be intent interpreted. So we're operating under that threat, under that ROE. At the same time, we had extended what we call collective self-defense to our friends, partners, and allies that are there. So you could take actions to defend the Brits. You could take actions to defend your Afghan partners. The third component of that was we used what we call direct action authorities, which allowed you to strike people that were not in direct contact with you, particularly in relationship to Kabul if they posed a self-defense threat. So the last point I would say is we exercised self-defense with lethal effect 3 times during the defense of Kabul on 16, 20, and I believe 22 and 26 August.
Okay, so sticking with the Abbey Gate incident, General McKenzie, you said there was no specific attacker intelligence or no specific intelligence existed, and that there was nobody on the Bolo that fit that description. Does that remain true today?
It does.
So were you aware, after the Abbey Gate attack, were you aware that service members at the gate had requested the ability to service the target, so to speak? Were you aware of that?
No, I would not be aware of that.
And it's understandable that a combatant commander might not be aware of what service members right on the line are aware of. But post that circumstance, were you concerned about the intelligence you were getting regarding the action you were about to take on the would-be attackers and that network?
Sure. So on or about the 26th, we were tracking 4 broad, very active, very concerning threat streams. We were looking at the threat of a vehicle-borne IED, a person-borne IED, which actually was the modality of the Abbey Gate attack.
Right.
We were looking at indirect fire, rockets and
Right.
mortars, and we were looking at an insider attack, someone who gets in and blows himself up in the terminal.
Right.
So we had dozens of, and
But you had nothing fitting the description of what your service members on the gate,
we
on
had
the
a
line
lot
had.
of descriptions of men and
So when the service member on the line is looking at the attacker based on the description and he's got the rules of engagement, But the rules of engagement at that point require him to check with his commander, go up the line, and he does not get approval. That's exceptionally concerning. I understand the fog of war. I get the circumstance you're in, but there's a man sitting here that's been blown up because he couldn't get the answer that he needed. So on Thursday, August 26th, the Abbey Gate attack happens. 3 days later, on August 29th, the drone strike occurs. Now, you said that we had up to 6 Reapers following this car around for 8 hours, and that I think up to 60 pieces of intelligence that proved that these were the people that had just attacked the Abbey Gate.
No, sir. That's not correct.
Well, that's what I've got here for open source reporting. Okay, maybe some of that's not correct, but regardless of the fact, on the 29th, the drone strike occurs, kills 10, 7 of them children. 5 days later, the Pentagon admits there was a mistake. 5 days later. General Milley, when did you know that the drone strike was a failure?
When did I know that the
drone strike on the civilian taking water to his family was a failure?
No, I remember. When did I know it?
It was 5 days before the Pentagon said it was a mistake. When did you know?
Probably day 4, day 5, in that range. I didn't know right away, if that's what your question is.
And who did you tell when you knew?
Well, I think it came up through me to the Secretary of Defense.
And again, from you to the SecDef?
Well, it would have come from General McKenzie would have called me. I don't remember the specifics, but General McKenzie would have called me and said, we have an incident that...
Does anybody else in the Biden administration know at that point that it's a failure?
I honestly don't know.
Because the whole time they're telling us secondary explosions, we got the target, lying to the American people, not having a clue. Who did you tell?
I tell the Secretary of Defense. And of course, if we have a principals meeting, we go through the details of the strike. But I guess I'm trying to, if you're saying, did I tell the President of the United States or whomever, other than the Secretary of Defense, that there was a mistake, I think, and I'm doing this from memory, I think Frank McKenzie, General McKenzie, would have called me, and I would have informed the Secretary of Defense, or he would have called the Secretary of Defense, which is his chain of command, and I might have been in there at the time. I don't recall the actual date time group, nor the individual that I mentioned to. But for several days, it was my impression that the procedures were executed correctly and that we struck a target that we thought was an enemy. There was a mistake made. It's a tragic mistake.
It's huge.
Of war.
And we lied to the American people for 5 days and all these families.
We were lying, though, Congressman. Lying implies we were intentionally trying to deceive. That is not what, I know that's not what I was doing.
It's a pretty big mistake, sir. I yield the balance.
Gentleman yields.
Yeah. So let's talk about Vargas for a minute.
Let's do that.
Those two idiots. Now, we call them perfume princes or rear echelon motherfuckers. That's why they're behind the lines. And all they really give a shit about is building their fucking ribbon rack. They don't care about anything else, in case anybody out there is wondering. Anyway, that having been said, following the rules of engagement laid out by one of those fucking numbnuts, it sounds to me like Vargas had the green light to take the shot if he wanted. Am I reading this wrong?
You are reading that wrong. Well, no, according to them, you are reading that right. But there's some caveats there. Those are rules of engagement that applied to the entire theater. And that's why if you listen to him, he qualified all of his statements. Well, we're to protect our ISAF partners and we're, to do this.
How the fuck does that make any sense? Abbey Gate's not part of the theater?
Well,
Give me a fucking break.
No, yeah, it is part of the theater, but not in that specific incident, not in that specific environment. Now, there's a lot of questions about this stuff.
You got to educate me as to what I'm missing here.
Okay. In their minds, as members of the Joint Chiefs and generals trying to cover their asses and all that, they're going to put a bunch of military speak and gobbledygook and everything else that goes along with it to try to justify their actions. That's what I'm saying. He said, we're protecting the rules are ROE. We're for the entire theater wide. We protect ISAF. We protect so forth. At that moment in time, by the way, Sergeant Vargas was the sniper in question. Okay. When Sergeant Vargas is looking down his scope and has that shithead in his sights and the crosshairs on the triangle right on his forehead, in that particular environment, because of the confusion and the lack of any planning and how fucked up in general everything was, he, in his mind, as a lowly sergeant, thought, I should probably ask somebody before I do this. And the response that he got was, I don't know.
And I know in Iraq we had State Department, we had our own rules of engagement. But I would have, when I got the I don't fucking know, that would have been clear indication to me that I had the permission to take the fucking shot.
By then it was too late. Okay. That's the problem with all of this. Remember, DOD and DOS are two completely different animals. You know that.
I know.
That's completely apples and oranges. So I can easily see how that could happen in that environment. It's like, well, you know what? It's no different than no different than right now. What's the first thing in your mind if you get in a deadly threat confrontation? Whether you actually want to admit it or not, is shit. What's going to happen if I kill somebody tonight?
If I
should
get
not be your first thought.
If I get zips, if I get zips zipping past my fucking head, I ain't even thinking about the other thing.
Well, yeah, that's farther in the process. And those are pretty much, and that's actually what they're saying too. You got somebody shooting at you. Of course you can return fire. You don't have to ask anybody. That's not what's happening at that.
I get a bang on my door at 2 a.m, and I look out the fucking side window, and there are two nefarious people standing there. You can bet your ass I'm shooting through the fucking door.
Yeah, I can understand that, and a lot of people do that. But that's not what's happening here. The answer should not have been, I don't know. Somebody should have known. So who the fuck was supposed to know? Right? It's not the ROEs.
The lieutenant colonel should have given him the answer.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, he was promoted after all this. By the way, that particular
he was what?
Lieutenant Colonel. He was promoted after all this.
Well, that's like I said. That's why they call them rear echelon motherfuckers and perfume princes. That's why.
Yeah, exactly. So I can easily understand how this happened.
All right,
okay,
I guess we got to go to a break. So
yeah,
let's hit it, Blaze, man.
Chair recognizes Mr. Waltz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for the witnesses for coming in. I got to tell you, Mr. Chairman, the more I listen to this hearing, the more infuriated I get. And I know the Gold Star families sitting here have to feel the same way. I know every veteran watching today has to feel the same way, because it's not about us. It's about them. And I think what upsets them most, General Milley, General McKenzie, are some of the statements from the president during this evacuation, including an interview that the president gave on national television during the withdrawal on August 18th, saying the generals never advised me to leave 2,500, and the only airbase, Bagram Air Base, in the world, sandwiched between China, Russia, Iran, and a platform to stay after counterterrorism. General Milley, is that an accurate statement that the generals never advised him to leave a stay-behind force to keep a lid on half the world's terrorist organizations?
I will tell you what my thoughts were at the time. My assessment.
Let me just say, you've testified today, you both testified repeatedly,
yes,
that you advised the National Command Authority we should leave the stay-behind force, including the base.
Plus NATO, plus
That's right.
That's correct.
Did President Trump leave that stay-behind force despite his stated desire to get everybody out because the Taliban didn't meet the conditions?
When the administrations changed hands, there were 2,500 soldiers, and that was a
Did you then, and you've stated today you didn't advise Biden to pull everybody out, you advised him to stay.
That's correct.
So that's an inaccurate statement. But let's go down the list here. Let's go back to July of 2021. President Biden, there's a likelihood, there's going to be the Taliban overrunning everything and owning the whole country is highly unlikely. Does that comport with your knowledge at the time? In fact, you just a few weeks later said Kabul will be surrounded in 30 to 60 days.
My assessment at the time was if we went to zero on U.S. military forces, then there was a high likelihood of a collapse of the government of Afghanistan and the ANSF with the Taliban taking over.
Would collapse.
But I thought it was going to be, I personally thought it was going to be in the fall, somewhere around Thanksgiving. The assessments vary widely.
We're talking within months.
Within months of our withdrawal, that's correct.
The next one, there's going to be no circumstance where you see people being lifted off the roof of an embassy in an embassy of the United States from Afghanistan. It's not at all comparable with Saigon. I think this picture proves that not to be the case. Fair enough. Joe Biden, July 8th, 2021. Next one, Americans should understand we're going to try to get it all done before August 31st. And if you're an American, if there's American citizens left, we're going to stay to get them all out. Was that your understanding of the operational planning at the time, to stay beyond August 31st, or were you planning to get out by August 31st?
We plan to get out by August 31st.
Last, but perhaps the most egregious. We believe about 100 to 200 Americans remain in Afghanistan with some intention to leave. You both testified today, you just testified, General Milley, that it was impossible to know the number. In fact, is that accurate? It was very difficult to know the number.
Very difficult, and I don't think the numbers were accurate.
Yet the State Department's revised that number since to nearly 1,000 Americans left behind. Look, in July of 2021, Bagram is closing. We're withdrawing our four-star commander, General Milley. Ghani is visiting President Biden, practically begging us to at least leave our contractors and some little bit of air support. General McKenzie, you've testified that you were so concerned in July of 2021 that you put up recommendations, including lily pads to get our allies out, putting pieces in place to process our SIVs faster, putting measures in place to get our American citizens out, to get our allies out, and to take care of what American military should do, which is protecting all Americans. You were so concerned in July of 2021, you put those recommendations forward. That's what you've testified today.
That's correct.
And in fact, also the diplomats on the ground, Mr. Chairman, sent a dissent cable. 23 diplomats saying if you continue down this road, disaster will ensue. Was that dissent cable shared with either of you? This is a formal channel going to the Secretary of State himself. Was that shared with you as the chairman of the Joint Chiefs? Was that shared with you as the commander?
I've never seen it.
I didn't see it at the time, and I haven't seen it since, and I would like to see that dissent.
I think the American people would like to see that. Chairman, here's my question for you. Do you know where the Secretary of State was on August 13th? The day before Kabul fell? Do you know where the Secretary of State was? Despite all of your concerns, the State Department wasn't planning fast enough. We weren't getting our people out. According to the Washington Post, he was in the Hamptons. He was in the Hamptons on vacation. Secretary of State Blinken. I don't know. I can't even imagine how that makes our Gold Star families feel. Look, here's the bottom line, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for your indulgence. I'll close with this. The State Department, to use a military term, had its head up its rear. It wasn't planning. It, in fact, thought we could just have an embassy and the good Taliban terrorists will take care of the bad Taliban terrorists. I mean, that's essentially what happened. And because of that, we didn't get our people out. We didn't get our citizens out. We didn't have the force posture. We didn't have the basing. We failed, and their loved ones are dead because of it. I apologize to you, to my Gold Star families. Your government failed you. There is a difference, gentlemen, and I know you both know this, in taking responsibility and accountability. A lot of people have taken responsibility. No one has been held accountable, and they deserve but better. Your government failed you, and I'll give you an opportunity in my time remaining, Mr. Chairman, if there's anything you all would like to say publicly on the record.
I'll give the witnesses time to respond, but the time has expired.
There you go.
One of the tragedies of war is that young soldiers die, but God damn it, not like this.
Well, you know, the number one item on a list for a successful operation is proper planning.
Yeah.
You know the old saying, proper planning prevents piss poor performance.
Yep. Yeah.
These guys all failed miserably.
They did. All right, so let's get into why they failed miserably. What do you think? Because
I'm gonna go back to, well, there were a couple things that come to mind. First one is, to me, that Fucktard said, don't do anything, stand down. That seems like the most obvious to me. The second one is, like I said earlier, REMFs, rear echelon motherfuckers. All they care about is that fucking next star or that next fucking ribbon or whatever else. And they don't want to do anything that's going to prevent them from getting it. And the third one is Perfume Prince. Same deal. They want to get to where they're going, and they will step on anybody and anyone that gets in their way.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and run this last video, and then we'll continue on with the discussion here, because it answers some questions too.
The new report from the Pentagon tonight after its investigation into the horrific blast at the Kabul airport during the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan. The report now finding the carnage was caused by a single attacker who appeared at the crowded Abbey Gate with a powerful bomb packed with ball bearings. The Pentagon releasing the only known footage of the blast itself. Here tonight, our Chief Global Affairs Correspondent, Martha Raddatz.
The danger had been building for days. Desperate Afghans trying to get out, U.S. Marines trying to help while securing the Kabul airport. This image is what the bomber would have seen approaching the airport's Abbey Gate on that August afternoon. Masses of people lining a canal. And for the first time, we see the suicide blast itself. It is only a few seconds and some 50 yards away, but slow it down and you see a lone figure dressed in black, who investigators now say was the bomber.
In that space between the Marine in the foreground, his antenna is where you're going to see that individual. The blast seems to emanate from this individual.
And 3 minutes after the blast, a U.S. drone records the catastrophic aftermath. 13 U.S. service members, mostly Marines, killed, 170 Afghans by the ball bearings propelled by 20 pounds of explosives on the bomber. Surviving Marines gathering up the wounded and dead, and hundreds of Afghans running for cover. The Pentagon also looked at whether this tragedy could have been avoided. The investigators saying the leaders did follow proper procedures, and in the end, given what was happening on the ground, David, this was not preventable. David?
All right, sorry to make you guys sit through.
That's a lie. That's a lie. That's a
Raddick.
fucking lie right there.
Exactly, and that's exactly why I wanted to have that video last in the string. That gives you that tells you how full of shit those people actually are. And a year later, it's taken all this time later to prove it. All right, so let's go into why.
Just a disclaimer: that bimbo was at Obama's wedding, so.
Yeah, well, yeah. It's the incest runs rampant and all of this stuff. It's but okay. Let's go back and kind of talk. Let's discuss Afghanistan in general. Okay, 20-year war, trillions of dollars spent. We needed to be out. It was time for it to end, and something had to happen. So Trump negotiated with the Taliban. Right? It sucks, but sometimes you got to talk to the bad guys to get shit done. So he negotiated withdrawal. One of the things that Milley said is he thought it was going to happen in November. That's the beginning of the winter slow season. Nobody fights during the winter. There's too fucking much snow and can't get over the mountain passes and the Khyber Pass and all that. Fighting starts hard in the spring. Okay, makes sense. Get out in November. Now, my opinion on this is why it was pushed up to August 31st. Is because Joe Biden wanted to be able to stick a feather up his ass and be the one to say, I brought the war to Afghanistan to an end on September 11th. The 20-year war is finally over because of the actions of my State Department and my expertise as a politician. And that's the basis, the foundation for everything bad that happened after that.
Let's try this one for a minute. Why were we there?
A lot of thoughts about that. Well, September 11th was supposed to be the original reason, right?
What happened on September 11th?
Yeah. Gee, I don't know. You were there. You tell me.
I'm trying to make a point. Can you help?
Yeah, I know. Didn't you have some building fall down around your head?
On May 3rd of 2012, the day after they killed the fucking primate, we should have been making plans to get out of there then, instead of sticking around another fucking 10, 12, 13 years. The mission was complete the night Rob O'Neill fired the shots.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And we should have been out then. We should have actually been out a long time prior before that, when Obama and Clinton and other folks had bin Laden in their sights and didn't do anything about it. This whole thing could have been avoided before it even started. But
and the other side of the coin is, don't forget, by giving up Bagram, we gave up a strategic place in the world.
Oh my God! One of the largest military bases in the world. It's right in the middle of China and Russia. They gave us access. That was our base for the entire Middle East. The place was huge. It was its own fucking city, and we just
should have never walked away from that.
No, they gave it to the Taliban, and of course the Chinese just moved in. The Taliban is occupying 47 bases, either ISAF or ISAF and coalition bases in Afghanistan right now, with all the equipment, the facilities. They've just taken them over. And that's why they're running that fucking country right now.
Yeah.
So it actually should have been over in the first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And bin Laden could have easily been assassinated. We could have walked away and left Afghanistan to their own devices. The Northern Alliance had taken over by then. The Russians had left. The Soviets, they could have got their shit together.
Troops would be alive, and Pat Tillman would still be playing football.
There you have it. And a lot of other things could have happened, but that's not what happened. So this is what we're dealing with now. $80 billion of equipment, like the conversation we were having earlier about night vision equipment, and it's showing up. That shit's our stuff's showing up all over the world now. There's some recent videos from a few days ago showing some Taliban snipers using FLIR scopes to assassinate some Pakistani soldiers.
Yeah.
So they have access to all that. Apparently, they figured out how to use them. Because they have.
Well,
it's not hard.
Yeah.
It's not hard to do. So we no longer own the night.
Right.
So the shit's being used. Our own shit's being used against us now.
Yeah.
Because we just left it there.
Yeah.
There's an ANA base just outside. See, there's an ANA, Afghan National Army base, just outside of Kabul. The fucking place is huge, and it's where it's a military training facility. It's where they kept all their armor at. There was all kinds of stuff in there, and it's a pile of molten metal because of bombings that we did initially during the invasion, and that included. And the Russians, they blew all their shit up too when they left. They didn't leave operational equipment behind. So why the fuck did we? How stupid was that?
I guess you'd have to get into Biden's brain when the brain freeze from the ice cream goes away.
Well, there's no brain in there, so that shouldn't be that difficult.
Yeah, that's true. So, in other words, we're never going to get the answer.
Mm-mm. No, we aren't. We aren't. So, his plan didn't work. They had to move it up a little bit. Apparently, everybody was completely surprised by that. Like you said, Blinken was vacationing in the Hamptons at the time. No planning, as you said earlier. Piss poor planning is piss poor performance. Nobody had any idea what's going on. You see the chaos around Abbey and around the airport in general. We could have maintained and that was actually supposed to be part of the original plan of what was negotiated. We were supposed to keep Bagram in place. We were supposed to leave a force protection unit there. The contractors were supposed to stay, because the only real advantage that the Afghan National Army had just prior to our pullout was that they owned the skies. They had some pretty good air support going, and they had some good pilots, and they could take care of themselves. But
they didn't want the contractors there because remember when my old boss Roger was on from the State Department? So the morning the withdrawal, all the shit went to everything went to shit over in Kabul. I got a phone call from a guy named Matt Dane. He was a State Department contractor. He was a former Army Ranger, 2nd Battalion sniper, and he said to me, "Hey, you want to participate in Operation Pineapple? Go rescue some hostages?" I go, "Yep."
Right.
So
yeah, I remember that.
I had a fucking car pick me up. I packed my bags and stuff. I was on the way to the airport. When I got the logo, my phone rang. It was Matt. He said, "Stand down, brother."
Yeah.
He goes, "The White House put the fucking kibosh on everything."
Yep, they sure did. Yeah, but the issue with the contractors, they were the maintenance guys. They were the ones that were supposed to. Some of them, they were the ones that were supposed to be running the airport. Because everything. It's like everything comes to logistics. Professionals talk logistics, right? So everything is supposed to be. They removed the entire infrastructure of logistics to support the AMP and the ANA. When all the contractors left, they did. And the contractors aren't going to stay because the military's pulled out. That's their force protection at that time. So of course they're not going to stay. And then the military the State Department kicked them all out anyway, so that wouldn't have made any difference. But we just left the AMP high and dry, or the ANA, and in the middle of the night, everybody just loaded their shit up and left.
Yeah.
Those poor folks had no idea what was going on. And
guys get up in the morning. They said, "Hey, where the fuck is everybody?"
Right.
They're gone.
Biden wanted to take a bow on September 11th is the only reason any of this shit happened.
Yeah.
And it's just disgusting. These people are despicable fucking human beings, man.
So my thing is, here's my assessment. So if we get a new administration, these people all ought to be, including Miley and including McKenzie, and they all ought to be arrested, tried, and once they're convicted, turned over to the fucking Taliban.
Yeah.
No, really.
Yeah, I know
That
what you're
includes
saying. Yeah.
that includes Biden and fucking Harris and Blinken and all of them.
Yeah, well, I don't know about that, but they're still our enemies, and they're
And
still.
for good, no, well, I want to hand them
Yeah.
over to our enemies. And
Yeah,
and
I get what you're
for
saying.
good measure, let's throw that fuckhead there. What's his name? The Attorney General there.
Oh, Merrick Garland.
Yeah,
It was
throw
almost a
fucking
Supreme
throw him
Court
in
judge.
there too.
Yeah,
That four-eyed cocksucker.
yeah. That would probably be appropriate also, but they're still Americans no matter what.
Not
So,
not my eyes, not my eyes. They're not.
Yeah.
Don't go there with me.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. There's got to be a better way. On that same line, we need to get focused on the next administration. Needs to focus on bringing this country back together, though, and getting our shit together and start making America great again. No more witch hunts, no more congressional hearings, no more bullshit. Let's just put that past in the dustbin of history and fucking move on, man. Enough blood has been shed for no reason.
Well, I would hope, but I don't see that in the cards.
The only other option is kill them all and let God sort them out, which can't really do that either. So
Yeah, you can.
Well, yeah, I can only hope that some of these people will be answering to a higher power.
I do too. Yeah.
Because it is just wrong.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know. Can we cover this? Have we taken this about as far as we can with this one?
Yeah. I think the show's a wrap.
Yeah, pretty much.
That second part was emotionally draining for me.
Yeah, you and me both, brother. You and me both. That was really unfortunate. And anybody, I don't give a fuck who they are, that tries to lay that at the feet of Sergeant Vargas, that poor sniper, is just a despicable human being.
Like I said, they need to be turned over to the Taliban.
Yeah. Yep, that was just wrong, sick and wrong. Did Blaze leave us?
I think he did.
Did we scare him off, or is he tired, or did he just? I guess we're on our own. Oh, there he is.
No, he said he's gone. Said he was done for the night.
Yeah, I guess he came back. Yeah, I thought maybe he dozed off, or who knows. But yeah, well, you know what? We got a little bit of time left. Got anything else you want to talk about?
I don't know.
Yeah, we still have half an hour, Philip.
I'm out of it.
Oh, you're done.
Yeah.
Well, wait. What were you?
Yeah, I think we got.
Okay. The only other thing might be the eclipse for a couple of minutes. For next time. I guess we could talk about that for a little bit.
Yeah, that's supposed to.
Somebody was. Yeah, what's going on with that? Somebody was saying that. Yeah, but why? Somebody was saying there's a bunch there's all kinds of emergency services are firing up. And
there's a fault that runs through the middle of Ohio. Supposedly the eclipse is going to land right on that fault that's going to cause severe damaging earthquakes, catastrophic to be exact.
Oh, no, I hadn't heard that.
Yeah.
News coming out about this total eclipse arriving across North America on April 8th, 2024 is just getting weirder and weirder. Now, as I stated in my previous video covering this topic, total eclipses themselves are not so rare. They happen every 2 years at any one given spot. But this total eclipse occurring on April 8th, 2024 happens to be an ultra rare event because it will intersect with another total eclipse that happened back in 2017, forming a giant black X on one singular spot. That one singular spot located in the United States, Illinois, in an area known as Carbondale, which is also known as Little Egypt. Two total
That's
eclipses
interesting.
merging and forming an X on one singular spot, like I said, is an ultra rare event. Last time something like this happened was back in the early 1800s, but ultimately this happens every 300 to 400 years. Even though this is an ultra rare event, this total eclipse happens to be the first of its kind. That is because as you're looking up, as you're observing the total eclipse, you will also be able to observe another rare event, another rare celestial event in the form of the Devil's Comet. This ominously named comet is due to the fact that it appears to look like it has two horns due to its two tails. Now, while they state that this comet will be closest to the Earth on April 21st, it will actually be closest to the Sun on April 8th. So you'll be able to see this comet called the Devil's Comet trail across the Sun as you're looking at this ultra rare total eclipse. Now, along this path of totality that this total eclipse is going to take across the United States, we have meteorologists reporting a very unique and rare weather event occurring along the same path of totality. There is a bizarre and notable severe storm in recent memory taking place along this same path and along this same distance, stretching from Texas to the northeast, making its way along the New Madrid fault line. Over 16,000 individual lightning bolts spanning over 1,200 miles. Now, there are people that are saying this is a common occurrence for them and where they live. Me personally, I've never seen something like this before, such a severe storm stretching over 1,200 miles following the same path of a total eclipse. Like I said, we also have the weather people finding this weird and bizarre. There are also people that are saying that nothing's going to happen. This is just another scare tactic, more fear-mongering. This total eclipse is going to come and go, and that will be that. That very well may be the case, but as I stated in my last two videos talking about this topic, this unique total eclipse that forms this X, as I said previously, something like this happened once before in the early 1800s. What followed after this X on this New Madrid fault line in the early 1800s was a series of horrible earthquakes only a couple months later. So horrific that they are still in the top 3 of the United States' worst earthquakes of all time. While this total eclipse may just come and go and nothing but a mere light show in the sky will just occur, we do have historical proof that there was disaster that had taken place after this total eclipse occurred. This very unique total eclipse occurred. Now, these series of massive earthquakes that occurred in the early 1800s, do they have a connection to this total eclipse that forms this giant black X over this New Madrid fault line, or is it just one big coincidence? Now, I've covered massive earthquakes on this channel once before, strange sightings being seen in the skies just prior to a massive horrific earthquake, more recently the Morocco earthquake that claimed over, I believe, 3,000 lives. What appeared in the sky just prior to this massive earthquake are these very strange lights known as earthquake lights. They can appear like thunderstorms, they can appear like spheres, they can appear like radio tower signals, or they can appear like an aurora borealis. It was also reported that massive thunderstorms broke out in the early 1800s near the New Madrid fault line as well.
Jesus, everything but a UFO.
To these series of earthquakes breaking out.
Yeah.
So much so that the president during that time raised alarms and had people find shelter. Then, like I said, these massive earthquakes broke out, which were about anywhere from a 7.0 to a 9.0. So today, as coincidence may have it, weeks prior to this very unique total eclipse, once again, we have a series of massive storms, massive lightning bolts, following the same path of totality, crossing over the New Madrid fault line. You have to understand just how devastating, just how destructive an earthquake like this would be in today's world. In the early 1800s, when the New Madrid earthquake struck, they were so powerful for a time, they changed the course of the Mississippi River. Jackson County, Missouri even talks about just how devastating an 1811-1812 earthquake would be today. It would leave large parts of St. Louis and Memphis, Tennessee uninhabitable. The St. Charles County, Missouri Division of Emergency Management puts the odds of another major New Madrid earthquake happening before 2040 at 25%. Now, while 25% is a good number, it puts us in good odds that a major earthquake will not strike the New Madrid fault line prior to 2040 is still very risky given the fact of everything that took place in the early 1800s. Just mere months after this total eclipse, this X that formed in this location, we're talking about a series of just massive quakes, something that would be pretty much world-ending for this location in today's world. Now, in my last total eclipse video, I had someone in the comment section of that video say to me, why don't I talk about the Aleph and Tabs? Why
Isn't there something in the Bible about signs and wonders?
2023
Yes,
total eclipse,
definitely.
when I'm talking about the
You know the
2017 and
specifics
2024 eclipse.
I'm not really that much up on.
No, but I just got a book. I could take a look at it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's about the end times. Yeah.
Yeah,
And it is a good and valid.
This is scary stuff he's talking about.
Boy, no shit, man.
Point I should have brought it up. I should have mentioned the 2023 total eclipse. The only reason that I did not is that it didn't really connect to the 1800s total eclipse, the Black X, and the Black X between 2017 and 2024. Now, what's very bizarre is that we don't really hear much about this 2023 total eclipse. We only hear in the news and media about the 2017 total eclipse and the 2024 total eclipse, forming that Black X that happens every so many 300 to 400 years. But wait a minute, what you're not being told is that there's actually going to be 2 Black X's across North America, across the United States, in mere minutes of this April 8th, 2024 total eclipse. Something that has never happened in history.
Thanks for asking me to pounce in. Okay, so look, all of this is like, I personally like stuff like this.
Oh yeah, me too.
All right, so like the moon, where the moon is, and where the moon, goes down and comes up and all of that shit like that, right? Now the moon, from what I understand, kind of moves like a little bit closer, and that's what controls the tides, and it moves a little bit back. Or
that's how you get astronomically high tides. Yes.
Yes, correct. Right. Okay, but also, so the moon controls a lot of the ocean, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So now the moon is also in effect here. So maybe because the moon is going to have like basically like 2 of these things going in front of it, it might fuck up the tides. Okay, number one. Number two, we don't know if that, because of that being there, could also cause earthquakes.
Yeah,
I don't know, maybe because the moon has something to do with our gravity, and I could be not even know what the fuck I'm saying, but that would make sense to me.
No, it's you're making sense.
Because I know the moon controls the high tide, low tide, all of that shit. Yeah. All
right. Well, let's throw another monkey wrench into it. What about the reversal of the poles? What about reversal of magnetic poles caused by all this shit?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, all this shit causing the poles to reverse, which has happened before.
Right.
Oh, this is
bizarre. But what I don't understand, and this all comes together, and you guys say the word, and we'll continue the video. The video's got about 6 more minutes to it. So
okay. Well, my recommendation at this point is don't pay your income taxes before our April 15th, because there might not be anything left after that.
I wait till the last day on purpose.
Yeah,
Right here,
that's a good
fellas.
idea.
You
I
know,
just got the book the other day. Adam and Eve. It's
What
on the
is it?
magnetic pole shifts.
Okay, yeah, we got to do.
CIA scooped
maybe-
this book and redacted a lot of it.
All right, let's look into that. Yeah, go ahead and run the rest of the
more
video. and we'll-
conspiracy, huh? More
Yep.
conspiracy. So
Yeah.
you're saying, Renee, before that book even hit the shelves, the CIA redacted it?
Yep. They scooped it and redacted a lot of it. Yep.
So is the
Holy
redaction in the book, or
No.
you're saying they just didn't add the pages and they took
pulled
out
the page,
wording?
They pulled the pages out.
Right. Right. So getting back to this, right? Yeah, that's what I think it's gonna, I mean, anybody who fell for the fucking Y2K bullshit, guys, I already went into my computer the night before, right? And fucking told the clock, hey, this is where you're supposed to be now. Because
Yeah.
you could do it manually.
Yeah.
The whole scare is that if you didn't do it manually and you let it go over by itself, it would fuck a lot of shit up.
Yeah.
So you couldn't go to an archive, or you couldn't reset your computer back to a different time. You know what I'm saying? Because when it flipped over, it doesn't understand anything behind it, never mind anything in front of it, until you fix that stupid fucking clock.
Yeah. Hey, if anybody's interested, I have 2 moons that people can see up close if they want.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. But probably
We're kind of thinking of maybe some kind of show like that for you, Renee, if you're interested.
Yeah. But you got to get the poll in your office there first. You got to put the poll.
We can call it These Buns.
How about Over the Moon?
People won't know if it's a fucking
Over the
cooking
Moon.
show
How
or
about
a baking show.
How about Over the Moon?
Yeah. Yeah. You get the older crowd to come in, think you're going to be doing some Sinatra stand-up type of stuff. Yeah.
We could put notices in nursing homes and everything. Tune in.
See, he always wants to goof around. We're having
I
a
know.
serious show here.
We are. We really are. Yeah. Yeah.
No, but
All right,
but I'm definitely we'll let this finish up, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go ahead. Sure. Oh, yeah. You're on fire tonight,
Two
by the
total
way, Blaze. Good
eclipses
catch.
crossing paths over one singular location, like I said, is an event that occurs every 300 to 400 years. But now we're going to have 2 black X's crossing over a singular location, one located in Texas and one located in Illinois, just mere minutes from each other. When you look at all 3 total eclipses as a whole, what it forms is an aleph and a tav. A tav is a cross, the last letter of both the ancient Hebrew and Egyptian alphabets. The aleph is an A, the source of our modern letter. They are the first and the last letters, the alpha and the omega, essentially. The April 8th,
Okay, here I
2024
am again.
eclipse
You
creates
said I
all
could
3
do
letters.
Yeah, stick around.
Look,
man.
I mean, what does the symbols got to do with anything? It's just so happened that these fucking things are gonna go that way.
The beginning and the end.
They don't know how to explain it because this is something we've never seen before.
Yeah,
It
there are
could-
no
you know
straight
what I mean?
lines in
You know,
nature.
What I
Chet-
would like to see is the astronomer book back then in the 1800s when it happened for the first time that we know of. You know what I mean? And how they explained it. Because we could sit here with this like fucking Notre Dame's book all over again. And guess what the symbols are. And then after it happens, you go, oh, yeah, right? Now that symbol makes sense. Well, it already fucking happened.
Right.
You
Ken
know?
mentioned it earlier. This could be a biblical. I mean, the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end.
Possibly.
All right,
It's
guys. Do you
possible.
think this is like this crossovers into the Bible, biblical?
I do. Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some of the shit that I'm seeing lately, I would be surprised.
Well, a fair point by me too. So I'm not like fucking religious like that. I don't. I know, everybody could look at me and say, well, what the fucking rest of 87% of the rest of the world is delusional and you're not, right? Okay. But Well, take that into consideration, okay, if you will. I went to church when I was a kid, and with my mom and all that stuff like that. But you come across things your way, and when you see things, one of them for me is I don't believe that if we had a merciful God, why the world is the way it is.
Because you can't question
You
him.
supposedly took your son the first time. There was less than half the people on the planet then. And he took his son's lives for our sin.
It's not his will. It's not his will for you to know his reasoning.
I don't think that's fucking fair.
Well, I guess when your heart stops and you're face to face
Okay,
with him,
yeah, all right,
you can
okay.
take it
I
up
know.
with him then.
Well, but that's another thing, though, is, you know what I mean? The guy or girl who saves my life, they don't get the credit for nothing. It's God's will that I survived.
No, they'd get the credit for it. I make goddamn sure they would.
You know, I don't know. It's a lot of difference of opinions.
Well, there are, well, it's like there are more things in heaven and earth ratio than explaining your reality. So I don't know, man.
It's something to that. I mean, look, I fucking believe in UFOs. So what does that tell you?
Well, yeah, me too. I'm not really
You know
religious,
what I
but I do have faith, and I do have a lot of faith. And
Right.
and
I
agree with
have
what you're
faith
saying.
too. I think our faith is looked at differently. I have
personal.
faith. I have faith in people. You know, it's
Yep.
the best
in
you
spite
can
of all the
ask for.
horrors that we've seen. You got to have balance. You got to have good versus evil. Sometimes those things have to manifest just so you know which one is which.
Right. It's a tough decision
yeah,
for me because for the simple fact is for me is UFOs for existence. I mean, at least there's pictures.
Well, yeah,
You
and
know?
come on, a reasonable person cannot actually believe that we are the only thing in the multitudes, the gazillions of universes out there, and
Of
stars and
existence.
planets that exists. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Right.
And
that's crazy.
And
why haven't they made contact with us then?
I don't know. It's a good question. Why haven't I seen Jesus Christ? I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Maybe
but
they
I
have, and
know,
we just don't know it.
But exactly.
Yeah, we're not sophisticated
Maybe
enough
when they do land, we will believe in their divine person or something because we would believe that they are fucking descendants from God, however they want to put it. You know what I
Do you
mean?
guys remember the Twilight Zone episode where you had a group of people that were doing things on in a town and all that, and it turned out to be a child that was playing with all the
toys.
the humans,
His
the toys. The
dollhouse.
humans were his toys.
Yes,
yeah,
his
and a
dollhouse.
Yeah, and that was his existence. That was their existence.
Creativity like that today, man. None.
Yeah.
No I'm telling you. I think if you're going to remake the Twilight Zone, which they tried to, what they should have did was remade all of them fucking episodes all over again for this new generation.
See, I'm kind of thinking, yes, you're right. They should have, because I think it was not only entertaining but informative. But
yeah, it was a great show. It was a great show. So
I think the reason like UFOs haven't fucking stopped the visitors, they think we're so fucked up they just fly on past us at warp speed.
Yeah, lock their doors and keep going.
Well, either that, when they fucking dropped the proper gene onto this earth, you know what I mean? They did it as a fucking goof, and they didn't realize that it was gonna, come to this situation. But they do still literally know that we're all fucking stupid in the head.
Yeah.
Just the fact that any one of our nations carry nuclear bombs where you could end life as we know it.
Yeah.
And I think the aliens know it. Why the fuck would you take a chance of putting your ship down? That could be the day we push a button.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah, I probably would.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. But yeah, I think biblical is.
I agree. This dude with this eclipse, guys, is tripping me out, man.
Yeah, I know.
So if I understand correctly, he is saying that we're going to have a massive earthquake.
The possibility is there. He's not saying it definitively, but
and lightning
based
storms.
on past
Okay, so he's
experience,
covering his ass. He can't say that. Yeah, it's going to happen because if it don't, then his career's
right? He's not. You know, I guess he can accurately say we're going to have those severe storms, but as far as accurately saying we're going to have an earthquake, I don't think he can say that. I think he's just going off of what's happened in the past and what the potential is for expectation.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that would actually make sense. One thing that kind of got my attention though is the because there are no straight lines in nature, right? So that's a little too. Isn't that kind of the pyramid shapes and isn't that a little too specific?
Excuse me. Yeah, but that's what they're trying to get at. You want to hear him for another 3 minutes?
Yeah.
Because he was just getting into it. Okay.
Yeah, let's more. This is good stuff.
Within minutes by crossing the lines created by the first 2 eclipses from the south to the north. Now you can Google Total Eclipse 2024 X. 99% of the news articles and images are going to show you 2017 and 2024. But oddly, 99% of these news articles and media omit 2023, the second Black X. I wonder why. The only other news agency I could find talking about it without having to do some deep diving research was Forbes. Very bizarre is the fact, a very big coincidence, how Egypt is deeply connected to everything taking place here. The Tav, like I said, being the last letters of the Egyptian alphabet, but also is the fact
that's
where the 2017 and the 2024 total eclipses are intersecting in a location known as Little Egypt, near a place known as Makonda, which is also known as, or was known as, the Star of Egypt. How perfectly can something be so placed? It reminds me of the Great Pyramids of Egypt and how they perfectly align with the stars. Now, if you go into a deeper dive between the total eclipse in 2017 and the total eclipse coming up in 2024, you're going to find yourself in biblical prophecy. In 2017, the eclipse crossed over 7 cities named Salem in America. This second total eclipse will cross over 7 cities named Nineveh in America. Nineveh, Texas, Missouri, Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Virginia, and New York. Going into biblical writings, Jonah was spewed out by a great fish, and when he washed up ashore, then he was obedient to God, and he went to Nineveh to proclaim a message of repentance. Now, this could just be me reaching here, but I find the passage spewed out by a great fish to be very funny, given the fact that I just covered a story how fish in the waters are acting absolutely crazy. Now, before we continue, what's actually missing...
So, Renee, is this type of Genesis type of shit in the Bible or what?
No, it's Revelation. Genesis.
I'm sorry, Revelation.
Genesis is the beginning. Revelation is the ending.
Where was the beginning last time? The beginning was the Y2K. That was the beginning. The world was supposed to end then, right? And everybody who was religious got behind that real quick.
Yeah.
When was it before?
Well,
there's a few other times the world was going to end because
I guess you can roll the dice and write this guy off if you want.
Well,
yeah, you can do
listen,
the
I'm just saying, if something's going to happen, it's going to happen. It's not going to happen because something, an X looks like an X in the Egypt time.
Yeah,
I don't know. Am I being arrogant about it? I mean, because
it could be the earthquakes. Absolutely.
I mean, just say that, hey, because of this this lunar experience, well, let's stay with astronomy, okay, on why it's going to affect the earth. Why do we got to bring in the Bible into it? Why do we got to bring in,
because the Bible
Egyptian, what's the Egyptian language called?
Because
hieroglyphs or something like that.
Hieroglyphics.
I agree. Yeah, I don't know.
So,
Go ahead,
but the Bible specifically talks about different phases, like of the moon and the sun at the end of the world and everything else. Like in the Bible, if the moon is blood red, that's one of the signs it's the end of the world.
Right. And I mean, I'm 59 years old, and I seen a red blood moon, I don't know, 10 fucking times, 11 times. They would talk about it on the news. Oh, we're gonna have a blood moon tonight. You know, shit like that. Or orange. Look at the moon, it's orange, shit like that.
Not a true blood moon.
I don't know what the difference is.
Because
maybe back then when they were looking at the moon that time is what I was looking at now.
Not only is the moon going to turn to blood, but your water's going to turn to blood too. Now, I know this is deep, but you asked for it, so I'm giving it to you. If you're one of the ones that's going to be saved, you can grab a glass of that blood and drink it, and it'll taste just like cold, fresh water. But if you're one of the ones that are marked to die, all you're going to taste is blood.
Gotcha.
That's all in Revelations. I would implore you to take a day or two to read the book.
I've read it already twice.
There's about for signs and wonders.
Once in Christian book study, and once just going through it. Go ahead, Charlie. Chuck, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, we're talking about signs and wonders because that's basically what these are, right? Signs and wonders. All right. So we got John 4:8. So Jesus said to him, "Unless you see signs and wonders, you will not believe." Right. In other words, all right, assholes, I'll show you.
Yeah, me. You could have said it. You, Blaze.
No.
That's pretty much what I'm saying, right? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The other one is Acts. The other one is Acts 2:22. Men of Israel, hear these words: Jesus of Nazareth, a man attested to you by God with mighty works of wonders and signs that God did through him in your midst, as you to know yourself. All right. There's a whole bunch of shit. The coming of the lawless one is by the activity of Satan with all the power of false signs and wonders. So that could be another component.
So everything it's saying to you is pretty much is like Jesus, I just I get just because you don't see me don't believe I'm not real.
Right.
I understand how that works. You know what I mean?
I got a question for the producer.
Yes, sir.
When you said the fish were acting weird, can you expound on that?
When I said the fish was acting weird?
Yeah.
This guy said the fish was acting
weird. The guys, I saw something the other day about a bunch of...
But written down in...
Yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead. I thought he was going to...
Oh, I did see something about that, about a bunch of fish.
Yeah, he said it right here.
Standing on their tails and all kinds of
shore. Then he was obedient to God, and he went to Nineveh to proclaim a message of repentance. Now, this could just be me reaching here, but I find the passage spewed out by a great fish to be very funny, given the fact that I just covered a story how fish in the waters are acting absolutely crazy. Now, before we continue, what's actually missing in the book of Jonah, but written down in Assyrian history, is that they actually encountered not one, not two, but 3 total eclipses. According to actual Assyrian writings, the Ninevites would actually see the solar eclipse as a precursor to God's judgment.
This is before Christ.
Yeah.
Yep.
But following these total eclipses, the Assyrian nation was weak and in chaos in the decade around 760 BCE. After these total eclipses occurred, they had one earthquake, which they thought was a sign of divine wrath. There was famine from 765 to 758 BCE. Assyria was losing battles and losing territory to its enemies. There was domestic riots. Sounds a lot like the United States today. We would definitely see these issues ramp up if the United States was struck by a massive disaster, such as an earthquake or perhaps even a volcano being set off. Just imagine the billions upon billions of dollars, the many lives lost, the poverty that was set in, the homelessness that was set in, if a earthquake, a massive 8.0, 9.0 earthquake would strike the new Madrid fault line. This is just a lot of coincidences adding up, and people will say that nothing will happen. This is nothing. But again, the ancient people used stars, signs above in the heavens, to guide them. And matter of fact, we to this day use these same signs to guide us. These perfectly placed signs, symbols, celestial events have to have some kind of meaning. Outside of these governors declaring a state of emergency during the April 2024 total eclipse, there have been gatherings of governments saying that the United States needs to prepare now because a massive weather event will take place shortly.
It's just lovely.
Yeah.
One of
They'll
the,
call it Mad Hatter, man.
I hope he
Yeah,
does the
everybody.
video before April 8th.
When's the eclipse supposed to happen?
April 8th.
April 8th. All right. I got a doctor's appointment on April 8th. But anyway, one of the signs.
I'll
for
let
the
you
end
guys close out. Thanks
One
for
of the
having
signs
me.
for the end of the world is fish are going to gather on the surface and bellow unintelligently. I fucking bellow
Oh,
unintelligently all the time.
Shit, I hadn't
So,
thought about that. Yep.
I'd like to see a fish do it better than me.
Yeah.
Anyway,
All right. Well, we filled
that's
up 2
all I
hours,
got.
buddy.
It's been a great show, really.
It
I
really
think it
has. Yeah,
very
I had a good time
informative.
listening.
I'm glad the producer jumped in and joined us because he
Yep.
was very informative. So I think tonight was a home run.
Yep, without a doubt. So anyway, thanks, folks. Real talk with real people, Fogman and Rennie. And we're going to go away now and take a nap because it's past our bedtime.
See you all next week.